All right, so I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:37. We do have a quorum present. And if I could open with a reading of the complaint, could someone read?
Yeah,
Joe?
I'll kick it off.
Thank you, Joe.
It's several pages. It's the open meeting law complaint form issued by the Office of the Attorney General in Boston. And it says that Karen Ryder of 49 Duck Marsh Lane in Chatham is filing a complaint in her capacity as an individual. And the public body that is the subject of this complaint is the regional district, the Monomoy Regional School Committee, and a specific person who is alleged to have committed the violation is Superintendent Scott Carpenter, plus the Monomoy Regional School Committee. And the date of the alleged violation is March 12th, 2020. For people who can't see it, that constitutes the first page. Are we clear? Can I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Second page is of the description of the alleged violation. And it reads as follows. At the March 12th, 2020, Monomoy Regional School Committee meeting, the superintendent of the Monomoy Regional School Committee, MRSC, Dr. Scott Carpenter, included in his report the topic of the results of the Chatham Special Town Meeting, STM, vote of March 7th, 2020. This topic was not included in the agenda for March 12th, 2020. An attachment is included in the complaint. On other agendas of the MRSC, there is far more detail posted under the topic of superintendent's report, clearly indicative of Mr. Carpenter's understanding of the need to list topics on the agenda that can be reasonably anticipated to elicit school committee. This material is also attached later in the complaint. 5 of the members of the Monomoy Regional School Committee then discussed the STM vote for approximately 10 minutes, giving their opinions concerning the STM vote and concerning the comments made by a member of the public at the beginning of the meeting. What follows then is the video YouTube URL. Key point is that this part of the discussion begins at 2 hours 39 minutes and runs to 2 hours 52 minutes. Having twice brought up the subject of the Chatham STM on the agendas of previous school committee meetings on 2/11/20 and 2/27/20, again, see attachment B, it goes without saying that both the superintendent, Dr. Carpenter, and the chairman of the school committee, Ms. Zebra Long, reasonably could have anticipated and placed the actual results of the STM vote as a matter for specific discussion on the agenda of March 12th. Continuing. That is Karen Ryder, I allege that the failure to place the matter of the Chatham STM on the school committee agenda for their March 12th meeting and the subsequent inclusion of the matter unlisted in the superintendent's comments was done to prevent members of the general public from being present to discuss the matter of the Chatham STM, and that all comments made by the superintendent concerning the Chatham STM vote and the resulting discussion by members of the school committee are a clear violation of the open meeting law. I also allege that the violation was intentional. At the beginning of the MRSC meeting, a member of the public spoke to the committee about the Chatham STM vote. This person was given no indication that the superintendent intended to address the topic during his report, nor did the committee suggest that the matter would be included later in the meeting. The second part of the description of the alleged violation asks the person making the complaint, what action do you want the public body to take in response to your complaint? And the complaint continues as follows. I ask that the superintendent of the Monomoy Regional School District, Dr. S. Carpenter, and the chairman of the MRSC, Ms. J. Zibrat Long, be financially sanctioned to the maximum extent allowed under the law. In addition, I ask that the 5 members of the MRSC who participated in the discussion, J. Zibrat Long and Scott J. Sheehan, J. Osceola, and T. Games, and Superintendent S. Carpenter attend an open meeting law training session and provide proof that they have a clear understanding of the law. The person issuing the complaint has to sign and date the complaint. It is in fact signed, and it's dated 4/9/2020. Clear enough? Are any questions so far? Are we good?
Yep, thank you, Joe, for reading that. So I'm going to open it up for discussion among the school committee members. Anyone have a comment, clarification, anything you want to say?
Okay, let me see if I can get back to find you myself. Here we go.
Joe, did you have something you wanted
Whoops.
to say? Just rate anybody. I know.
Yes,
Go ahead.
one of the first points is we have, from the time the complaint is issued, from the time we receive the complaint, we have a certain period of time in which we have to respond to that complaint, and I think that's 14 days. And our meeting is being held today to help us comply with that legal requirement. And then the question would be, what's the manner in which we address the response to the complaint? And there are a variety of choices open to us, but we need to give some thought as to how we do want to respond to it. We can discuss the topic here. We can appoint a subcommittee, which of course will be subject to open meeting law. We have the possibility of consulting with the attorney if the school committee wishes to do that. We have a number of choices on how to proceed. That's the first point. And then I'm prepared to get into specifics, but I won't do that unless that's something that we decide collectively that we do want to do at this time and in this meeting.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, anyone?
Tina?
Yes, Terry?
I don't know what steps have already previously been. I've had a chance to read the complaint a couple of times in the attached documents. The options that Joe just reviewed, seeing as a body, this is the first time we've gathered together tonight. If it hasn't already been done, I would recommend that we consult with our attorney for guidance and have Mark Terry respond in writing to us via the superintendent.
Thank you, Terry. Nancy, I saw your hand. Nancy?
Yes. Sorry for my delay. I had in my head Thursday, not Tuesday. So, you
Hello.
want to mute Terry?
Terry, you want to, Leah, could you put Terry on mute?
Thank you. I just
Thank
didn't
you.
want his
Go ahead, Nancy.
conversation to go in. So a couple of things. One is I remember I think it was a little over 3 years ago, maybe almost 4 years ago, where we did have an open meeting law complaint and Brian Whittigren was chair. And one of the things that we did is we allowed Brian to be the respondent. without us all doing it together as a committee, because we want to be careful that we're not editing a document by committee. So I do know that I can't remember the exact verbiage that's needed to be said, but basically allowing one person to confer with council to do a response to that. So that's just one side point. Again, and I apologize, my thoughts are not all with me. I have to pull all of them together quickly. So I did a lot of research on open meeting law after seeing what the complaint was, and we have 14 business days to respond to the complaint. And the complaint, once it was received, and I think that what I saw was that the complaint was received, and this is where all of our days and weeks merge together, April 9th, if that's correct. So we have 14 business days after April 9th. So this would technically be business day number 7. So we have another 7 business days to respond to it, best of my understanding, and again, confer with council on that. And I'm trying to think what else Joe mentioned in there that was questions. Please stop me if I should not continue on with this, but I firmly believe that we are not in violation of open meeting law in this by reviewing what open meeting law is. So I don't see any violation in reviewing anything here. I don't think there was, well, there's no intentional violation to omit it from the agenda. I didn't expect it to be on the agenda that day anyways. And I also remember specifically that after the member of the public spoke at public comment, Dr. Carpenter specifically said, I'm going to report out on this during my superintendent's report. So there was knowledge that it was going to be at the superintendent's report. And at that point, I started writing down some notes, kind of talking about what happened at town meeting. And also talking into myself about the person who spoke at public comment. And that person chose to leave. So he did not stick around for the superintendent's report. But the knowledge was there. He was very clearly told that it was going to be talked about at the superintendent's report. I might have more to say later, but those are my first initial thoughts. But I think the primary thing is that we don't want to respond to this violation by committee. We want to authorize one person to confer with council to respond. And I think we can kind of have a generic response that we can agree upon as a full committee, and then allow that one person to fine tune it and tweak it into an actual response from our council. Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Terry? And you'll need to unmute. There we go. Go ahead.
I agree with Nancy's summary in her recollection. Also, I agree that the chair should be designated as the responding person. I go back to this is our first time to chat about all 8 of us because of that, and I think that it would be wise before we agree or deny that we, as I said before, contact our council and allow him to respond with our chair and our superintendent, and then respond to our chair with what he sees as the next step. My recollection of that meeting also, after reading some of the charge, that the superintendent's report, which is on our agenda almost every time we meet, I look back for about 3 months in my documents, and there are an equal number of superintendent reports that are unlisted. It just states superintendent report. It does not go on to say every one of our meetings has had 1 or 2 or 3 topics. Some have, some haven't. So I don't know where that is as far as a guideline, but I don't see that as a planned method to cause some confusion. So before I go on any further as far as opinion, I think just to simplify it, I agree with Nancy to have the chair be the one, and number two, have with the 7 or 8 days that we have starting tomorrow, have Mark Terry contacted and fill him in on it, probably via our superintendent, and then we reconvene.
Thank you, Terry. Joe?
I believe our protocol requires that we vote on contacting an attorney in this matter. So that shouldn't be terribly difficult, but we would need a formal motion. And if the suggestion is that, it seems a very sensible suggestion to me, but if the suggestion is that the school committee chair be delegated as the person to take charge of fine tuning and drafting the last draft or the final draft of the response, I'm a little hesitant about volunteering somebody who's not present, although there is a certain logic to doing that. Does anyone know if that's playing fair with Jackie? Is this something that she might be amenable to? Because following open meeting law, I haven't been in contact with anybody, and nobody's been in contact with me, and we're discussing it here. So if in the preparation of this agenda, someone has that information, it would be a good time to speak. And Terry or Nancy could make that point about contacting the attorney as part of a proposal that includes having the board chair, or if not, someone else take the lead on this topic.
Thank you, Joe. Scott, I saw the superintendent's hand up, so go ahead.
So I did go and contact Mark Terry, our district's attorney. So Mark understands the issue, and I know that in conversations with Jackie, he would be or the two of them would be amenable to to drafting something together. I know that things that Mark brought up in terms of the complaint and things that would be pertinent to the response. First of all, as a superintendent, I'm not a governmental body, so I can't violate open meeting law. And one of the reasons why we didn't put the vote on the agenda is A, we generally set the agendas on Fridays. B, no matter which way the vote went at Chatham Special Town Meeting, there wasn't anything for us to deliberate. So it was either there was going to be a study done, or there was not going to be a study done. My report to the committee that evening was the petition passed, and the second point was that the town had reached out and asked if they could come on the land that we are leasing from them to start the engineering studies, and I said that I had granted that. That isn't a deliberation, and to the best of my knowledge, the conversation that took place by the committee members afterwards was not a deliberation. It's things that you're going to deliberate on and ultimately make a decision on that you list on a posted agenda. So yes, I think the suggestion to have the attorney draft something is a reasonable one, and I think that Jackie could go and be the person who ultimately signs it for the committee to deliver to the person that submitted the complaint and to the Attorney General's office.
Thank you. Before we take a motion, anybody else have a comment? I will say that I went back and watched the meeting video. It is there and available for anyone in the public who wishes to watch it. I watched the segment that was in question. In my opinion, me being one person, I don't see that we violated open meeting law. We were simply responding, asking questions, commenting to the superintendent's report as we always do. As it relates to the public comment, yes, there were a couple of references to that, but because it was part of the meeting, I think we were well within our right to make a comment on that because it did relate to what the superintendent was speaking about. And if you watch the video, you will see the superintendent did make a comment that he would address that issue during his report. So I just want to make sure that everyone, anybody watching this later in the public, that video for the March 12th meeting is available and you're welcome to watch it from start to finish so that you actually have the evidence. With that being said, could I have a motion with what we've discussed? Does someone have a motion they would like to make? Joe or someone?
I will.
Oh, Terry, I'm sorry.
Just before the motion, as a reference to our in-process committee protocol relative to Jackie's absence right now. Joe, you mentioned how would Jackie feel with this? I think it's very appropriate because the chair, regardless of who it is the official spokesperson for the school committee. That other topics that could come up, whether it's negotiations or whatever, individual members really should be very hesitant to respond to a news or radio or any other person requesting it and refer comments regarding that to our chair, whether it's this topic or any other. That's just how I recollect one of the protocols of a chairperson. I would move that we, regarding the open meeting law complaint, I would move that we contact our legal counsel via our chairperson and ask for a written recommendation regarding this complaint.
Thank you. And a second?
I'd second that motion.
Okay. Thank
Can
you,
I-
Joe. Yes, Nancy?
Just a discussion points. I'm wondering if we should have some sort of semblance of thoughts of what we are okay with in terms of a response, so that it's not just Jackie talks to our council and we go from there.
Good
I
point.
think I think that the motion made allows the start, and then maybe we can start a second motion with points to go back with. So I'm completely fine with the motion. I'm completely fine with approving that motion to allow Jackie to confer with council and be the spokesperson for response to this. And then I would like to go a little bit further after if this motion gets approved.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, Joe?
Just one quick point on the motion. Yes, Mr. Russell's right. The chairperson of the committee is the public voice of the committee, and I would not suggest otherwise. I am simply voicing a hesitation about asking someone to take on a particular role at a particular time when that person isn't present at the meeting, because the chair also has the right to ask other members or to constitute a subcommittee to make the public reply to the complaint. So if the chair is willing, I think we should move in support of the motion that Mr. Russell made and then continue with the discussion that Nancy Scott suggested.
Great. And I see that Jackie has joined, Jackie being our chair, has joined by telephone. Jackie, can you hear us?
She is connecting, in my sense.
It appears that she's connecting. Jackie, can you hear us?
I feel like we're talking to the moon. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? She is connected. I just don't know. And if you can unmute, Jackie, we do see that you are on our screen. And all right, she's here, but we cannot hear her. So,
Or C.
but what I basically have just, Jackie? Okay. So what I just heard, thank you, Joe. Joe, it sounded like you expressed just a little hesitation. Is that what I'm under, or?
No, the point I raised was answered by Mr. Carpenter. I'm ready to
Okay.
move on voting
Great.
for the motion and then getting into a larger discussion about the complaint itself, as Nancy suggested.
Perfect. So we have the motion, we have a second, so I'm going to take a vote on the motion that Terry made. All in favor of that motion?
We have to go individually.
We have to go
I think.
for a roll call. Thank you so much. So let's start with Terry.
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Meredith?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Jackie, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can. Are you in favor of the motion? Did you hear the motion, first of all?
I was in.
Okay, so that's an aye?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm an aye. And Sharon? Sharon?
Muted.
All right,
Aye.
okay, great. So we have 8 ayes, so that motion passes. Jackie, you have now joined us. Would you like to take over the meeting?
Why don't you move forward?
Okay, thank you. All right, so that motion has passed. That gives the responsibility for the Jackie and the attorney to confer. And now we're going to move into a conversation about the points we want to make in this letter. So let me open up the conversation. Nancy?
So I have a couple of thoughts. I'm sorry, because we have to dual screen here. I'm dual screening and I just closed what I was looking at. So a couple of thoughts in terms of responding. So what I'm looking at is possibly having a generic outline of ideas of response, and maybe we can be okay with those ideas or whatever ideas everybody comes up with as part of a generic response, and then that would allow Jackie to work with Mark Terry to formalize a response legally. So I think part of the conversation needs to be around the superintendent and how he is not a government body covered by open meeting law. That would be one. The second would be that what Dr. Carpenter mentioned, we're not deliberating. There was no deliberation on the agenda around that topic. The fact that the way that we as committee members were talking and not discussing, but we were reporting out our views of what we saw from town meeting. It wasn't a deliberation over a topic. It was a reporting out kind of under the superintendent's report. I honestly, that's opinion. So that's another point, is making sure that we have that covered, that it wasn't a deliberation of committee, was just reporting out. And the fact that we did have this topic on the 2 previous agendas prior to the March 12th meeting, where was posted on the agenda, we discussed it at that agenda, and then on February 11th, and then on February 27th, it was posted on the agenda, we discussed it on the agenda, and we voted at that meeting. Therefore, the March 12th was a summary, no further discussion beyond that. And then also, being in conclusion that we did not violate an open meeting law.
Thank you. Terry?
Not to oversimplify it, Nancy, and I agree with those points, but our council does this
Mhm.
for his livelihood day in and day out. So the number of thoughts I've had on open meeting laws amount to about 2 in the past 8 years. So rather than to prolong other thoughts on our heads, I would think Jackie sitting with Scott, our superintendent, with a phone call to our attorney. It sounds to me this has already been done, so that I trust that in a period of short turnaround, 2 or 3 days, Mark Terry can send Jackie a draft letter saying, here's how I would respond to that complaint, without us all taking turns with something else he should include. If not, we could have Jackie call him back, but I'd rely on him to, he'll have a copy of the complaint, and I think he's already talked to our superintendent. Jackie certainly could recall him. So that's my thought right now. I don't have any details that I want to make certain he doesn't forget.
Thank you. Other comments? Jackie or Sharon, both of you are off mute. Do you have comments?
No.
No.
Okay. Yes, Joe.
Well, Terry, are you making a motion to adjourn?
Well, I would, as soon as I hear from everyone. I mean, if everyone doesn't have any other points one way or the other, I think that might be wise.
Okay. Anyone else? So basically, as I understand it, just making sure is we have just voted that our chair will confer with our attorney. They will begin to put a letter together in response. Nancy made some very good points. And I know Jackie was on the phone and she heard those. Any other comment? Yes, Joe.
My apologies to Mr. Russell. Just couple things very briefly, as brief as I can make it. Just to point out, first of all, the open meeting law does not require public comment. So to have an agenda that seems to have limited public comment violates no right, because there is no right to public comment in the open meeting law in the first place. The right to public comment is determined by the chair. And that was certainly not violated. It was allowed and encouraged. Secondly, to violate open meeting law, you have to have a quorum of the members discuss matters that are within the purview and legitimate authority of the school committee. The complaint says that 5 of us did. That is not true. That's not accurate. 4 of us spoke about matters that were brought up by a member of the public. 1 of us did not. 1 person asked if school committee members attended the meeting, if they voted, and so on. Those are not matters that are within the purview of the school committee. Individual citizens on the committee can attend a meeting and so forth. A question like that is not part of any deliberation. And again, to affirm what Nancy said, there was no motion made. There was no decision taken. There was no vote. And the reason for this is that there had been 2 previous meetings where votes were taken. And further, the member of the public who would come, there's no secret, this is Mr. Taylor. He had asked us to support the town meeting by accepting the feasibility study, and there was no need for us to discuss that, because our previous vote already answered the question regarding the importance of a feasibility study. We said we would not agree to declare the land on Stepping Stones Road surplus and therefore make it available to the town. We had already answered. So we didn't have a discussion about topics we had already addressed even more fully. The vote at the special town meeting did not change anything fundamental that required us to have a redundant agenda item, and we did not. Should a member of the public think it important to have us reconsider the vote, people can ask through the superintendent or through the chair to have an agenda item placed on a future meeting. Nothing that took place at the previous meeting on March 12th denies any citizen that right. Didn't I say I was going to be brief? I've lied.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I will stop right here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nancy?
If somebody else has something to say, they can go first, but to sum up, I think I'll give a moment if anybody else has something before I jump in again.
Anybody else?
Okay, so I'm going to jump in now. So I think it's important that we give a solid direction to Jackie to work with Mark to say a basic conversation is that maybe we take a motion that we don't feel we violated the open meeting law, and Dr. Carpenter didn't violate the open meeting law. I apologize for any noise in the background happening. So I think that I think we should have that direction so that it is clear that as a committee, that's the direction we would like Jackie to go with the attorney, is there was no violation of the open meeting law by anybody on our committee, as well as the superintendent, because he is not a governing body. But so I don't, maybe I'm wrong. I would feel better as a committee voting Jackie that authorization and not just carte blanche, go talk to the attorney and figure it out. So I'll leave it there.
So would you like to go ahead and make the motion?
Oh,
Oh,
Terry.
Terry has a comment. Go ahead, Terry.
I'm in the, you know, I agree, Nancy, I understand where you're coming from. However, again, to try to simplify it, I think one of the main reason why we're contacting our counsel is to get legal counsel regarding this public complaint. I have my feeling, much like yours, as to where we sit on what we did or didn't do. But if we were going to make a motion prior to him saying, here's my opinion and how I would respond to this public person via our attorney, I think we'd all be safer than this evening making a motion, which right at the moment, I think makes in some sense, yes, but I would defer until our attorney responds with his direction.
So let me
I'll
ask this
say about-
question and thank you for that, Terry. Would it be fair, or maybe for you, Nancy, and maybe for some others, to just be on record, maybe with a vote, that we didn't feel that we violated open meeting law? Could we at least take that vote and let it be just what it is in this discussion? Or not? How does anybody feel about that? Nancy?
Until Nancy comes back on, I
Yeah.
agree with you, Tina.
Okay.
I think we should take a vote that indicates our broad direction, give broad outline, and then hold back as Mr. Russell is suggesting.
Okay. So
Well,
let's,
And believe me, I tried, Terry, I'm sorry.
No problem. To you know, move it along. I have no problem with that either. But I think the best thing to do is to one, you know, we can voice what our opinion is right at the moment, and I have no problem with that. And then just direct Jackie and Dr. Carpenter to contact our counsel.
okay. So with that being said, Nancy, would you like to make the motion just in general that we feel that we didn't violate open meeting law, and that is the direction?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a lot of commotion going on in my background. I didn't want to unmute myself and have all of the loudness happening. Yes, I will make a motion to continue on the other motion where Jackie has the authority to work with counsel to draft a response to the open meeting law violation along the lines of us not violating the open meeting law in the response, here comes my noise again, sorry. Is there more?
Tina?
Yes, Joanne?
No, Jackie.
Oh, Jackie, I'm sorry, Jackie?
Should it actually be to draft and submit within the 14-day within the 14-day time period?
I withdraw my
Because-
motion.
A draft would insinuate that it's not complete. Where authorizing the chair to work with council to prepare a succinct response based on the violation, based on the charge regarding the action, and in a manner that is consistent with what the council and I discussed and the violation.
Yes, Joe?
Agreeing with the point Jackie made, I think we simply need to give a statement, our opinion, and that in response to the complaint that we received from Karen Ryder, it is the opinion of the school committee that the complaint is not valid, accurate, and we say that no violation of open meeting law occurred on March 12th, 2020, period. And I would ask that be added to the motion that Jackie's presenting right now. That way it gives a sense of what our overall purpose is and what we want to say in response. It gives a general idea of what we want to say in response, which I think we should have as part of our motion.
Yes, I agree. Terry and then Joanne. Okay.
I'll go back and just repeat myself. We made a motion to contact our legal counsel. Normally, when you contact the legal counsel, you're looking for direction and clarification and a formalized response to somebody, in this case, a public complaint. I would be hesitant to, before we send that message to our counsel, to then opine how we all feel on it, when in fact, within a week, we will get his credentialed opinion and recommendation to us that we then send off to the Attorney General's office, as well as to the public person who sent the complaint in. I wouldn't like to make statements that we feel we were all correct on all these points, and then find out that there was a flaw, and then have to correct ourselves. Otherwise, why pay an attorney to review what our opinion is that we were correct in our responses? So I would not want to move forward to a motion. The one that remains is, I think, enough to get this activated with the very person, with Jackie and Scott, on the phone with Mark Terry, and within a matter of 2 or 3 days, he would respond in writing to us. I could guess what the response hopefully would be, but we wouldn't be double checking ourselves and, asking, we feel this way, Mr. Attorney. How do you feel about it? That's what we're asking him to do.
Okay, thank you. Joanne?
So my question probably goes somewhere in the middle. Jackie is our representative. We've given her the power to speak for us. She's heard us. She's got a sense of where we're going, what we think. It's been enumerated exactly where we think we didn't break the law, but without having made the decision to go to what Terry said. We're saying this is what we're saying. This is the evidence. Here's what we did based on Nancy's points, and Jackie's speaking for us. And I think you could, to me, I'm comfortable leaving it in Jackie's lap. I just think, sorry, Jackie, but I just feel as though she'll speak having heard us. Yes, no?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Yeah, good point, Joanne. Jackie, did you have something to say?
I do. I'm sorry. I cleared my throat, but I think I can probably help with some clarity to you guys so that we can move forward, and that through this whole process, it's been a very busy week, last 2 weeks, but I have been in conversation with our council, just trying to move forward to make sure, I think I received this the eve of Easter. So just trying to move forward, making sure we were meeting our deadlines correctly within that 14-day processing date. So in my response in my conversations with council, we have kind of worked through the details of what the violation was, and he had an opportunity to go through our notes and our minutes and had conversations with me. And I do have a draft type of response that could serve as the Monomoy Regional
Good work.
School Committee's complaint filed in response to it. So I would be happy to read that at this point. So you can kind of see where we're at, if that's helpful. And then maybe that will help clarify how we should just move forward with a motion. Would everyone be
Yes.
okay with that?
Yes,
I would-
yes. Everybody's nodding their head. Yes, Jackie, please.
Okay. So it's a little bit lengthy, so just bear with me. Response to open meeting law complaint filed on April 9th, 2020. Dear Ms. Ryder, this letter shall serve as a written response of the Monomoy Regional School Committee, quote, the committee to your open meeting law complaint filed with the committee on April 9th, 2020. The committee reviewed your complaint at its meeting on April 21st, 2020, with presumptual review where that date goes, and voted to authorize me to provide this written response on behalf of the committee, and that would obviously change if what we did change. Summary of complaint and requested response. In your complaint, you allege the committee violated the open meeting law at its March 12, 2020 meeting as follows. The topic of the Saturday, March 7th, 2020 Chatham Special Town meeting was not listed on the agenda. Superintendent Carpenter discussed the results of the special town meeting as a part of the superintendent's report. 5 committee members then discussed special town meeting comments made by an individual during the public comment period of the committee's meeting for approximately 10 minutes. The superintendent and chair of the school committee could have reasonably anticipated and placed the actual results of the special town meeting vote as a matter for specific discussions on the agenda. The above actions were taken to prevent members of the general public from being present to discuss the matter. The above comments are an intentional violation of the open meeting law. Your complaint requests the following response from the committee. Financially sanction the superintendent and committee chair to the maximum amount allowed by law. Require open meeting training of the superintendent and 5 committee members who participated in the discussion about the special town meeting. Require the superintendent and 5 committee members who participated in the discussion about the special town meeting to provide proof that they have a clear understanding of the law. So basically, that's just a violation you guys all got copies of. Response of the committee. The committee's response to your complaint is as follows. The superintendent is not a government body covered by the open meeting law. As such, the superintendent cannot violate the open meeting law by discussing something that is not listed on the agenda. The agenda for any meeting of a government body need only list the subjects the chair of the government body reasonably anticipates 48 hours in advance of the meeting may be the subject of, quote, deliberation. Deliberation is defined as A, an oral or written communication through any medium, including electronic mail, between or among a quorum of a public body on any public business within its jurisdiction, provided, however, that deliberation shall not include the distribution of meeting agenda, scheduling information, or distribution of other procedural meetings, or the distribution of reports or documents that may be discussed at a meeting, provided that no opinion of a member is expressed. That's GLC 30A 18. Superintendent Carpenter made a report regarding the special town meeting as it related to a warrant article related to the potential placement of another town of Chatham facility on the property controlled by the committee at the middle school. As stated above, the making of a report does not constitute deliberation. To the extent multiple committee members spoke after Superintendent Carpenter made his report, they reported out as special town meeting observers with regard to comments from members of the public at the special town meeting. The committee members did not deliberate over the underlying issue, i.e. the placement of the facility on the middle school property. In fact, the committee had fully discussed the issue of the placement of a facility on the middle school property at its February 11th and 27th, 2020 meetings. Those discussions culminated in a vote of the committee expressing its opinion related to that issue. To the extent there was any discussion of this subject at its March 12, 2020 meeting, that discussion only summarized what occurred at prior meetings. The committee therefore did not engage in any deliberation on this topic at its March 12, 2020 meeting. To the extent the committee members' comments were directed in response to the comments made by a member of the public earlier during the March 12, 2020 meeting, the members' comments would not be subject to the 48-hour posting requirement, as the chair could not reasonably have anticipated what the member of the public would say. Again, the committee members responded to the comments of a member of the public. They did not deliberate on the issue of the underlying issue. Based on the foregoing, the committee did not violate open meeting law as alleged in your complaint. As such, no remedial steps are necessary. Conclusion. In compliance with the open meeting law and the Attorney General's regulations, the committee is submitting a copy of your complaint to the Attorney General's Division to Open Government within 14 business days after receipt of your complaint. By also forwarding a copy of this written response, the committee has notified the Attorney General's Division of Open Government of the action taken by the committee in response to your complaint. With this written response, the committee believes it has addressed the issues raised in your complaint. The committee finds no violation of the open meeting law by the committee. This matter is now closed. And then it would be sincerely signed by myself. And that
Thank
is
you,
it.
Jackie. Thank you. Comments?
Yep.
Questions? Nancy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a draft response. So now that we have a solid draft, I think now we can move on to move. So this is kind of what Jackie was saying in the very beginning, that it's our role as a committee to authorize her to draft a response materially similar to what she just read to us. So based on that, I would like to make a motion to authorize the chair to respond on behalf of the committee in a manner that is material consistent with the draft response that Ms. Long just read aloud. And that's it.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Joanne, second. And we're going to, any discussion before we vote? Terry?
Yes, let's see if I can capture it. Thanks, Jackie. I think whoever drafted it, I think I would be fully agreeable with just that. I would
Thanks,
just be cautious about all the rest of us adding more statements to what already is the letter to be sent out. Because in this case, I think less is more. So I'm comfortable with the motion. I just think what we just heard would have been 40 minutes ago, a lot quicker as to what we should do with this tonight. So that's all my opinion.
Thank you. Nancy? You had your hand up?
I did. I saw Meredith unmuted, so I was going to let her go first, but maybe she was just ready. So just to go with what Terry said, the whole point of the motion is to let Jackie take that rough draft to the council and work with the council, and for us not to add anything. So that draft is what we are materially in agreement with, for her to take to council and council to say, this is exactly what you should say and how you should say it. And everything that is submitted in response to the open meeting law will be materially consistent with that draft.
Thank you. Meredith?
Do we need to just add, when Jackie was first saying it, she said to draft and submit? Do we need to have that in the motion that she will submit it,
Oh, it's already drafted.
or no? Does it not matter?
I hear what you're saying.
That you'll submit it to the Attorney General and the, I'm not sure what the exact term of Ms. Ryder would be. The
Complaint.
complainant?
I think so. Nancy?
So the motion says I move to authorize the chair to respond. So this would be our response.
Okay,
So I think that's what you were
that
going.
covers it.
I
Yeah,
think, I think so, but if you want to add another word in there, but I move to authorize the chair to respond on behalf of the committee. So that gives her the authorization to
Right.
act.
I would
Exactly.
second that.
Okay.
Yes. So we have the motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All right, so we're going to do a roll call vote. Let me start up. Joanne,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Meredith,
yes,
Terry,
Yes.
Nancy,
Aye.
Jackie.
Yes.
Sharon has left it, so I am also an aye, so that would be seven of us. So it's unanimous that the motion has carried. And I think that brings us to completion, unless anybody has any other comments or questions. All right, motion to adjourn, please.
You got a hand up over there.
Yay, I like that. Let me do the same. Let's do the same. We got it at the bottom. There we go. All right, so motion to adjourn this special meeting.
So moved.
Nancy has moved. May I have a second?
second,
Second came from Meredith. Now we have to roll call again for all in favor. Joanne,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Meredith,
yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Nancy,
Aye.
Jackie,
Yes.
and I am also, Tina is an aye. That is unanimous. So we are officially adjourned at 7:34.
Great to see you all.
Thank you
look good.
all.
See you.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Safe, everybody. Bye-bye. Till next time.
Till next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you.